Now, there are some crazy things going on out there, no doubt, and one man who scours the deepest, darkest crevices for stories you will hear nowhere else is Joe Messina of the Real Side Radio Show. Joe, welcome back to Smart Life.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gina. Thanks for having me back.
Always good to be with you. As we watch this horrible massacre take place in our neighboring Santa Barbara, you and I both being not all that far from that area, people are looking for answers and solutions. One of the most audacious and frankly sickening posed solutions out there is by an anti-woman group who is advocating that if women don't start having sex more with these misfit men, like the massacre, like the murderer in Santa Barbara, whose name I just don't even care to mention, then there will be more of this sort of murder. Is that not a threat?
It's not just a threat; it's ludicrous. Come on, they had a whole week of this, and I think it was at Harvard University where they had a week of primal sex, and what they said was, by having this open atmosphere of sex when you want to have it, it helped the men relieve tension, and that way it kept women from getting raped. Are I mean, they're teaching this at an institute of higher learning.
No, there is a whole line of thought to this, and I happen to know somebody who actually believes that women bring this on themselves, and that if we had less inhibitions about sexuality and had more random sex, that somehow that would stave off these rapes and murders and things like that. I think it's a very sad moment in our history when that's a discussion we even have to have. So let's just move on. The New York police report Farmington Schools employee was videotaped attempting to have sex with a cow. We wonder why we have sexual dysfunction in this country.
Oh my God, this has got to be one of the weirdest stories that you and I have ever done or ever even talked about. I got to tell you something. The New York Farmington police. This was a school employee, but here's what happened. The farmer was noticing that his cows were a little wigged out every time the farmer got too close to them. They kind of got uptight. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The cows were spooked, and then the farmer decided to put a camera in place. He's thinking maybe there's a wolf going through there at night. Maybe it's a chicken. I mean, something getting the cows crazy. So he puts a camera in there, and he sees a man having sex with the cow. Mm. Now, on top of that, he calls the police department. They come in and set up more cameras, and they see this guy smear himself with jelly or Jello before he decides to have the sex with the cow, and he has his friend videotape it. I mean, we hit a new low or what? I mean,
some
really,
people are just really, really twisted. I can't imagine that that's okay. So is he going to lose his job with the school district?
He's already resigned. He was in the technology department, so he never had real direct contact with the kids. But who thinks of this stuff? I mean, how did he ever get a job in the school district to begin with? This wasn't something they just sat around on Friday and said, hey, I got a good idea.
Yeah. Well, speaking of schools, I guess it's okay, as long as you're not white, for you to be a straight up, blatant racist, to stand before your classroom and tell the white people in the classroom that they are the reason why basically everything bad has ever happened in America. Tell us what happened in this specific instance.
Well, this particular black professor now, it's a Minneapolis community. It's a technical college. And she goes on to say that white privilege in English, her name is Shannon Gibney, that Professor Shannon Gibney. But this isn't like a one-time event. She constantly inserts race into her classes, into the things that she talks about. And she talks about, she's in a communications class, but she talks about how the white, not just white students, but white in particular, and everything white is what's wrong with this country. And then she tells the white students that they shouldn't take the fact that that she characterizes them as single-handedly holding down the entire black race, women. I mean, she is blaming these white impressionable young kids for everything wrong in society, and not just with blacks, but again with women.
Wow.
We oppress. If you're white, you're part of the oppression problem.
And that's another one of those, Joe, where if you reverse that situation, you wonder how long, if it was a white professor and the whole, and blaming the problems of men on women in the class, black women specifically, that wouldn't fly. That would be national news. You couldn't turn it off of your television if that were the case.
Oh no, no.
No.
And can you imagine? And I'll throw it in here. Can you imagine if it was a Jewish professor talking about the Islam belief?
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, you not only can't own guns very easily in this country anymore, you certainly can't advocate for people to protect themselves with them. Although I couldn't help but think if some of those girls in that sorority house had been trained in using firearms, maybe less people would have died. Maybe if someone on the street, if California's gun laws weren't so crazy, and someone on the street, when this man first started shooting, had a gun and could have taken him down, perhaps less innocent people would have died. I can't help but think that. But now they've taken that one step further. Not only can you not, I guess, make a gun with your hand if you are a child in elementary school or eat one out of your Pop-Tart, you can't even think about a gun. Tell us.
Oh my God. Yeah, what is it now? Now you can't even think about unicorns, I guess, because they could be pretty dangerous in a stampede. So the thought police are at it again, and this time it's an 8-year-old boy. So as part of a school imagination project, the boy drew a picture of a gun. Now, of course, the school freaked out and claimed the boy's actions demonstrated bad behavior. Because it was a gun, the teacher at Talbot Elementary School in Winfield, Colorado, called him into the office and then filed a behavior report. I mean, behavior report because he thought in his imagination.
Tell the child to imagine something. They write down what they imagine. So now you're really asking the little boy to just lie. I mean, that's really what they were asking him to do, because if the first thing that came to his mind was a gun, maybe he'd been shooting his BB gun the night before. Little boys do that, and it's normal.
What did they want him? Would it have been okay if he drew a picture of a Barbie doll? Would that have been okay? I guess I don't. I mean, what is so dangerous about drawing a picture of a gun on a piece of? Well, you could have got a paper cut if you pick it up too fast. But other than that, really. You're right.
Yeah.
We're pushing the imagination of our young kids down. We ask them to think. We ask them to imagine certain things, and then we get on their case when they actually do it.
Yeah. Well, that's not where the thought police stop, though. Guns, one thing, contraband in the classroom, but another thing, contraband in the classroom is the Bible. Now, Penthouse, Playboy, and Hustler are okay, but the Bible is banned in this particular classroom. Tell us, Joe.
Well, every school has it. The school district I'm in has it too, and what it is they have a 15-minute free reading period. And that allows you to, anything you want to, you pull it out of your backpack and you read it. Well, in this case, a kid pulled out a Bible and started reading it quietly, and the teacher took it away from him because you can't do that. It's not permitted during free reading time.
But then is the Quran permitted? What is permitted? That's my question.
Well, Penthouse, Playboy, Hustler, what is it, 50 Shades of Grey? I mean, anything that you have that has to do with sex or bestiality or anything like that is more than fine. But when you get into any kind of righteous scripture whatsoever, yeah, it's going to be a problem. Isn't that funny with everybody that interviewed the institution and people at the institution, nobody would ask the question, what if it was the Quran? Would you still have said it couldn't be read?
Well, that's why we need good folks like you on school boards, because I have a feeling you would have asked that question, Joe.
Yes, I would. And I would have read Playboy to say, is this the kind of stuff we can read?
Yeah, I always picture these conversations on these school boards, and I always think, so they're saying, okay, Playboy, check, yeah, that'll be fine. A Hustler, check, yeah. Maxim, yeah. Let's get all the smut we can in here, but no Bible, no. On that, no. I mean, is that the way these meetings go? You've been there. You serve on a school board. Tell us.
Oh, it is always interesting on a school board. We had a book brought to us by a parent that had a descriptive rape scene in it, and we had teachers and the school board curriculum council say that the book was fine. And I threatened to read it from the dais. I said, well, let's just read that chapter. Let's just read that scene in that incident and see how many people like this. Why don't you bring the book?
Yeah.
And it made two of the other trustees very nervous, and they decided to just to pass and take a vote on it because they called it censorship. When I brought up the fact that all I wanted to do was send slips home to parents, know what was in the book and let them decide whether their children should read them or not, they called it censorship and wouldn't allow us to do that.
Well, and then they want to put trigger warnings on Mark Twain and Grapes of Wrath.
And no bacon and no...
No bacon. Yeah, ban bacon. Some things are sacred, Joe. You've got to stop the bacon banning. That cannot be happening in the classroom. The thought police have to stop there. Joe, we always appreciate having you on the show. Tell folks where they can find you.
They can find me at therealside.com. You'll find stations, times, podcasts, just all kinds of fun stuff. And even some of the podcasts of myself and Dr. Gina.
That's right. Absolutely. Joe, you're the best. Thank you so much. And don't let them ban any bacon. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
You'll have me to answer to if they start banning bacon.
I usually eat it when they start talking about it and there's none left to ban.
You don't need to ban it. Just call Gina and I, and we'll come down here and eat it all for you. I think that's a great solution. We just solved all their problems just like that.
No problem.
Common
Send it to
sense
me.
solutions and conservatism. You've got to love it. Joe, thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for having me.